I leap up, throwing my arms around his neck and pulling and dragging him back and back, just like I did with Doloff. He spins around, throwing me off of him and blazes with fury. Damn you! What is the matter with you? His hand flies across my face in a slap, and I fall to the ground. Oh. I start to cry. I cry because Ron is still choking in pain, and I cry because Lucius hasn't hit me in a while, and I thought that he might have stopped doing it. And I cry because what I'm doing to Ron and to myself. I cry because my cheeks sting. How can any of this be worth it? Lucius looks down at his hand and spreads his fingers in apparent disbelief. Ron pulls himself to his feet, looking at... he didn't even... That's very important. Lucius looks down at his hand and spreads his fingers out in apparent disbelief. Like, he doesn't... Yeah. That's important, guys. It's important because... I don't want to say it. Whatever. Okay, I'll just say this. It's important because... She's like, oh, he hasn't hit me in a while. And every time she's like, kind of says it's like spaces between that. But I mean, like... He's just like, oh my god, I just slapped her. Like... When has he ever cared that he hit her in his life? And now he's just like, shit, I just hit her. Like, I didn't even mean to do that. Ron pulls himself to his feet, looking at Lucius murderously, taking deep, gulping breaths. He's got blood streaming from his mouth and his eyes blacken. Oh yes, Malfoy, mutters bitterly. You care so much for Hermione that you beat her up without a thought, and you claim that she cares for you? She doesn't. How could anyone care for someone who treats them the way that you do? I could answer Ron's question if I tried. But to do would to rip away the small bit of consultation he has. And I wouldn't let that happen. I won't. I won't. Lucius takes a deep breath through his nose, looking down at me for a long, painful moment before he turns. Looking at Ron. I never said that I cared for her, he says quietly. I blink. That hurt. Ron snorts with resentful laughter. Do you really think that makes any of this better? He shakes his head. You bastard, Malfoy. I swear, one day I will kill you. I expect Lucius to laugh devilishly. I know that under normal circumstances he would. But as I look up at him, I realize that he knows that this is not a game anymore. It's not like he liked to do with Ron. It's not... all he's ever liked to do is play with Ron's emotions. But this has gone beyond that now. It's far too complicated for all three of us. You might want me to die, Weasley, he mutters before he turns to face me. What you have to ask yourself is, do you wish death on her? Ron's eyes widen. So do my own. He can't mean. He just can't. My eyes are colorless. What are you talking about? Ron whispers, his voice wobbling. But the answer, thankfully, isn't what I almost expect. If you were to tell anyone what you have discovered today... Lucius whispers, his eyes on mine. Then you would surely get your wish. I will die immediately, perhaps even at the hands of the Dark Lord himself. He takes a deep breath, his eyes darkening. But then, so would your little mudblood friend. For it would not be myself that would hold the blame. Even Muggle victims of rape by Death Eaters are not left alive in this world. And I know that he's not lying. I know that because of what Doloff told me before he died, that Lucius once killed a Muggle woman of Augustus Rookwood. That Augustus Rookwood had gotten pregnant before she could give birth to another half-blood. Ron's eyes are wide. trenchers of fear. They wouldn't. They would. Lucius interrupts him flatly. They would have no hesitation in doing so. In anything, she is more likely than I to die if we are discovered. I would be certain to die. He said. He pauses, his cheek twitching slightly. It is an absolute certainty. It really hits me then. This is just so dangerous. God only knows what we'll do if we're found out. No. I know what we'll do. We will die. And as Lucius says, it's an absolute certainty. This has to end, even if Ron does decide to keep quiet for us. This has to end now. That's it. I've decided. It ends tonight, one way or another. After what feels like a lifetime, Lucius blinks and turns to face Ron again, his face stony and businesslike. There's a tiny thread of urgency, of quiet desperation, almost, running through his voice. So what's it to be, my Weasley? He murmurs. Will you take your revenge on me and send your precious my blood to her grave while you're at it? Or will you keep our secret for us? Ron glares at me, almost accusatorily. And no wonder. I betrayed him in every possible way. And now I've got the nerve to ask for his help, on top of everything else. But I need his help. If he won't help us, then it'll be the end of both of us. I just stare at Ron, my mind building up with the noise of the word I want to say above all others, but I just don't have the nerve to. Please. He blinks and looks as if every moment is costing him more than the world. He nods. I'll keep it, he mutters. I almost smile out of sheer relief, but I don't. My eyes just close in silent prayer for a moment until I remember that I don't believe in God anymore. Sorry, I don't believe in you more. I forgot. I open my eyes again, my breathing heavy. Ron looks at me for a few seconds, his eyes threatening to spill over, before he turns to Lucius. But I'll keep it for her, not for you. He whispers, believe me, one day, when this is all over and done with, I will kill you for what you've done, Malfoy. I swear it. Lucius rolls his eyes, a sigh of relief barely audible. If you say so, Weasley. He spreads over. He heads towards the door. Come along. You need to go back to your room. Bellatrix and Avery will no doubt check on you soon. And it will look a bit suspicious if you are not in your own room. Ron glares at him mutinously. And why should I do anything you say? Because you've forgotten you owe me, Malfoy. Lucius turns, pointing his wand directly at Ron's face, his own expression rock hard with restrained anger. I know that you have no desire to do as I tell you, he mutters, before grabbing Ron's arm. And that is why I give you no choice. If your guard finds your room empty, they will go looking for you. I cannot afford their such to find its way here. He pulls a key out of his robes, still clutching at Ron's arm before he turns to me. His face has no expression. Perhaps he doesn't care about what happens after all. What has happened after... Perhaps he just doesn't care. He pulls out a key of his robes, still clutching at Ron's arm before he turns to me. His face has no expression. Perhaps he just doesn't care about what has happened at all. Good. That'll make it much easier when I end it with him. How can I end it? How can I even begin to end it? But I have to. I have to. Wait here for my return, my blood, he says coldly. and then there is nothing. A pair of them disappear into thin air.